the Community Foundation of Ellis. Okay, if you want to, now, are you part of the Economic Development office?
No, but
Okay.
I'll kind of explain that in a minute.
Okay.
Where we all kind of go together, so.
Guys, you need a piece of notebook paper while she's going on here. We'll take a minute.
Okay, so thank you for inviting me here today. And it's my passion always to talk about the Community Foundation, simply because I have probably been involved for maybe over 12 years. The Community Foundation first started back in 2006 in Ellis, okay? And like I said, it's my passion. I've been working with them just because I love the community of Ellis. And our main goal is to raise money. And then the money that we raise, we go on ahead and we do projects to help better Ellis. That's our mission, to make just Ellis a better place to live and to work and to raise a family, all right? Now, one thing I want to talk to you first about before I go on about the Community Foundation is the difference between the Alliance and the Community Foundation, okay? Everyone kind of gets that mixed up. When you go downtown next to Junior's Brick House, the restaurant, it says the Ellis Alliance. Because a lot of times they will call the foundation the Alliance, or they don't know which one to call us. You have to think that the Alliance is just a building, okay? And inside that building, if you look on the windows on the outside, it says the Community Foundation of Ellis, the Chamber of Commerce, and the Economic Development, okay, Council. And so what happens is that our three groups, our three organizations, we just meet in that building. We kind of support that building. The foundation owns the building, but like Hayes, if you look right across the street from SERVS, they have a great big, huge, all big cities have their own Chamber of Commerce building. And they have their own staff. I think at Hayes, they probably have at least 10 people that work in that nice building, and they get paid, okay? And so that's the chamber building. The foundation buildings are separate. The economic development is separate in big cities. But when you get to these small rural towns, it's nice that we have these organizations. But us alone, we cannot have our own building. We cannot have a staff. We are all volunteers, okay? So what happens that we each, the three people that are inside that building, what we do is that we just share that building. We have our meetings on different nights. We put money into a pot that hires just one staff person that we call the director of the Alliance. We all have the very same telephone number, so when you call, you know, if you listen on the phone, it'll say press 1 if you want the Chamber of Commerce, press 2 if you want the Community Foundation, press 3 if you want the Economic Development. And then of course the secretary will answer if it's something that concerns the Community Foundation. She calls me and she says, hey Pauline, I have somebody that needs something. So that's why it's kind of confusing, because I think people think that, okay, we'll say mail your stuff to the Ellis Alliance. So therefore they don't know if they should call us the foundation or the Alliance. But just think, the Alliance is just a building, okay? Why we named it the Alliance and not the chamber building or the foundation building is simply because Alliance means working together, okay? And so that's why we just gave the building that name, the Ellis Alliance office, okay? So basically, we just work out of there. Everything's mailed there, everything, our telephone call, we all use the same secretary just because we can't fund our own building, okay? Any questions on that? Because that is always a big concern, that people, they don't know which one to call us or whatever. So we're our three different organizations and groups, but we are just under the umbrella of the Alliance building.
Okay, so write down Ellis Alliance,
Mhm.
and then within that, the Community Foundation of
Uh-huh.
Ellis is there.
And the Ellis Chamber of Commerce and the IDC, which is the Economic Development Council. And so a lot of times I do, when I tell people and talk to people, I draw a picture. I just put a big box on top and say Ellis Alliance, and then I draw down 3 lines, you know, like a Venn diagram, and put down the foundation, the chamber, and the economic, all right? And like I said, we just work out of that building together. We have the same secretary, the same, because we use the same computer, the same printer, everything, yeah. So, but we are different. That's how we're different there. Okay, so go back to the Ellis Foundation. Like I said, our main goal is to raise funds for Ellis. So what's nice about our organization is that we are a 501c3. So 501c3, what we have done is we've gone to the state. You have to fill out paperwork to get this label as a 501c3. What happens with a 501c3 is that anyone who donates money to you, they get a tax deduction for donating. So you can donate to a lot of different organizations, but especially with the foundation, we get sometimes donations that are $25,000, $10,000, even $1,000, even $500. The people who are donating the money to you, they like that as a write-off for their taxes. And so that 501c3 gives them the opportunity. We send them out a receipt, and when they go to their tax people at the end of the year, they can show how much money they have given to 501c3s, and it's a benefit to them because they get a tax write-off. That money is deducted from their gross income or whatever. So that's what's kind of nice about the foundation, because of course that's an incentive for people to give to you. In our funds, we have funds that are for historical. We have, like, if you look at our budget, we have educational. We have different line numbers for different things that we keep funds for. Sometimes people come to us, like for instance the soccer. I don't know if any of you guys are in soccer here, but the soccer club here in Ellis, you have to pay, I think, for a soccer coach if you go play soccer at Hayes. And so therefore, the people who play soccer, they're in charge of coming up with that amount of money. So yes, they could have gone to Ellis State Bank or to Golden Belt Bank and took out a savings and loan, a savings account, and just said, okay, we need to pay for our coach, so whoever wants to give money, we'll put it in the savings account, then we'll write out a check whenever we need to for TMP to pay for our soccer. Well, what happens again goes back to that 501c3. If you just go open up a bank account and give money to that, even though you donate, you don't get to write that off on your taxes. So therefore, we have what we call special interest funds that people can come to us. So whoever were the first soccer parents, they came and they said, hey, can we go on ahead and make a special interest fund with you guys? And so therefore, most likely the parents of those soccer players were the ones that put in $500, $100. They had to get money during the year to, by the end of the year, to pay TMP for that soccer coach. And once again, it was that 501c3. They gave $500, so it's gonna help them with their tax write-off, because they could have very easily just went across the street to the bank and opened up a savings account. So we've got one for like the Pride organization here in town. We have a couple different people that have opened up special interest just because of the donation part of it and getting a tax deductible for that. There's different ways that you can give to the foundation. A lot of people think we just write out a check, but there are other ways that you can give to the foundation. You can give a gift of grain. And I know every year we have right before harvest, we have down at Junior's or whoever has the restaurant at that time, we just want to show appreciation to the farmers. So we have them come down on one Saturday morning and just say, hey, today if you're a farmer, you can come in with you and your wife and whoever your workers are and get a free pancake and sausage just to show appreciation. But at the same time, we're asking them, we have signs up to say, if you can this year, would you please give the foundation a gift of grain? They just have to go down to the elevator, sign a piece of paper and say, hey, this truckload of wheat will go to the foundation instead of going to my own personal account down there. So you can give gifts of grain. A lot of people do that for their churches, will give a gift of grain. In the olden days, that used to be a real popular way for people to donate to their churches, to give them. Even as you drive around the countryside, all of a sudden on somebody's property, there'll be this sign, they'll say, the grain goes to, and they'll even say like what church it goes to. So evidently if a custom cutter, whoever comes in and cuts, they know that property, that gift of grain goes to them, okay? So you can give a gift of grain besides just giving money. People can give us property, like they can deed a house to us. They can give us livestock. Of course, if you give us livestock, we're gonna have to turn around and sell that right away because we have no ways of keeping beneficiary, okay? We have that has just happened a couple of years ago, back in 2018. We have Sybil Luya, and the Luyas grew up here and she went to Ellis High School. Anyway, back in 2018, she went on ahead and did a life insurance policy, and she left $100,000 upon her death would go to the Ellis Foundation. She came up with a scholarship, so we have scholarships now, and I'm gonna leave this here with your teacher, but the scholarship form is it's just a Sybil Luya. What she stipulated though is that for the scholarship, you have to go into an ag, because she was a farmer, lived on the farm, it has to be an ag-related career or occupation. We went on ahead, I hope you could read through this, maybe Mrs. Carroll had showed you this also. A lot of times people think for ag, and at first she had just a 4-year last year. We had nobody that applied for a 4-year. A lot of your ag careers are going to be maybe a 2-year program. You're gonna go to a VOTEC, it might be just 24-month, it might be a 12-month, it might be a 9-month. You can get your CDL on this and be a truck driver. That's part of it. Anything that produces from the farm, you distribute from the farm, grow, yeah, it's all down here, different choices that you can do. So this scholarship is due on March 31st, so make sure that you look that over. But anyway, that is what she wanted to leave her legacy as a scholarship. So we deal with that too. We also have another scholarship that just has come in recently, is with Doug Shaw and his wife. And we have always given an award up here for the top math and science student. Every year you just get a plaque if you're the top math and science student. And anyway, he set up his scholarship to where now if you are named that, besides getting a plaque, you get a $500 stipend. But he's the one that's paying for that $500 stipend, this Mr. Shaw and his wife. So that will be, I think last year was the first year that was given. We don't have to fill out any scholarship forms for that. Mr. whoever, I think it's Mr. Mick right now is the teacher. He just can go back and look on the records and see who took the most math, who took the most science, who got the best grade, and it's a cut deal. You're the top math person, you get the award. So it's not like other scholarships to where you apply and then you have a review board. So so we have that scholarship going on too with us, okay? Any questions so far? So lots of different ways that you can give besides just money. You can give a lot of different options that we will accept. Okay, one of our major, the two things that probably when you say the community foundation that you think of is our food pantry here in town. And you think about our grant rounds. We have 2 grant rounds a year, and we usually within the year will give out $10,000. For our grants, a lot of people a lot of the nonprofits, like we give a lot to the Ellis Rec. They do a lot with their baseball diamonds. We've given to, you guys go to Fifth Quarter on Friday nights at home games. Okay, we've given like $1,000 every year to that. So the money that you win in prizes and food and everything that you get from that comes from the community foundation. So we give to them every year. I mean, there's just many different nonprofits, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, different church groups, done kitchens, and anyway, so we have 2 grant rounds. The first one is due March 31st, and then in April we'll give out some money. The second one opens up the 1st of June and goes to the end of August, so then in September we will award some grants too. So we have 2 grant rounds. We do that every single year. The other thing we do is the support of the food pantry, okay? Our food pantry, it costs like over $1,500 a month for the food pantry. We appreciate every time you guys do a can drive for us, you know, trick or treat so others can eat. You guys did something at Christmas to where you filled up the doors with canned goods. We appreciate all of that because that just kind of helps us. But we have over 80 boxes that we give away every month. We have open pantry. We have over 80 boxes that go out. And then when you figure out how many people that serves, it's maybe like 173 people that are actually getting food assistance from the food pantry every single month. The foundation are the ones who support that food pantry. We buy a lot of fresh fruit from the Kansas Food Bank in Wichita, and that comes up once a month. So whichever day we have our food pantry, open pantry, is the day that the food truck comes up because we don't have freezer space to freeze all of the bread, the sweet treats that they bring along, to have frozen meat. All we have in our pantry is the non-perishables, you know, like the canned goods and those. So anyway, so we spend more money every month to get those food boxes. So that's one of our major projects that we work on all the time and have worked on for years and years and years. Now, as other projects go, we always try to have a big project going on. And as I said, our main goal is to make Ellis a better place to live. We're out here in rural America, in Kansas, and so we want our community to thrive and to keep going. So one of our things is to beautify the town, to help beautify the town. We don't want Ellis to start looking like a ghost town. If we start looking like a ghost town, all the buildings are not fixed up, everything looks terrible, when somebody drives into Ellis, do you think they're gonna wanna stay here and live? Probably not. So we're trying to beautify the downtown. So we've done a lot with the railroad park, lots with sidewalks, put in nice little benches and planters, redid the whole park with the train. We did the mural just to be a wow thing, like when you come downtown, look at the big elevator right there, you know, promoting Ellis Railroaders, you know, we're proud of our school or whatever. So we've tried to do a lot for beautification things. Other things, projects that we have done is we've moved the food pantry, used to be in the basement of the Railroad Museum. That was hard for people who needed assistance to go down those steps to get a box of food. So one of our first projects that we did is move the food pantry up behind Casey's General Store, that building right behind it, that usually there's 2 campers sitting there. We have our food pantry there. So it's really nice, a circle drive that the people can drive up and we bring the boxes out to them. That works perfect. Another thing that we did was do the double slide at the swimming pool because we noticed that we were missing people going to Hayes swimming all the time. We wanted people, like I said, we need to have activities here in town for families that move into Ellis. Even though we may work at Hayes, what are we gonna do after work? We have to have something for the kids. The Ellis Recreation has lots of programs. Our parks need to look nice. We don't wanna have back 1940 country playgrounds in our playgrounds here in town. We want updated playgrounds that look nice, that, you know, that people enjoy playing. We've worked on the walking trail, the Danny Schindler walking trail up there by Creekside Park, up by the swimming pool park. We put in just this summer the Born Learning Trail, which is a little tiny trail for the little children, for like little toddlers that have a lot of different pretty colors on the sidewalks and whatever that they can go through and do activity when they're up there also. This year, our big project, what we're doing is talking about walking trails. The walking trail up there needed a little bit of assistance. So we have already gone on ahead and we have put the walking trail, when it came to like a driveway, there was no cement. So if you were walking on the trail, had maybe a baby in a stroller, maybe it had rained, you were fine as long as you stayed on the sidewalk, but as soon as you came to one of the little driveways, it was mud. So you'd have to get through the mud. So now we've made the walking trail go all the way through those little driveways, okay? That's something that we have worked on up there. The sign that says the Denny Schindler, when he passed away, it was his memorial money, and then we wrote grants to get that trail up there. So we have to put up the signage because some wind had blown it down. So we're working on that, and then that will go to one of our new projects that we want help writing grants on. But at the same time, we've had a historic walking trail downtown Ellis. It was over 10 years ago, a couple people who really were involved in history. And if you go to Arthur's Pizza for sure, you probably have seen that little black marker. And when you read right before you go in the door, stop and read that little marker. It says that Arthur's Pizza used to be the Kansas House, which was a kind of like a bar, okay, brothel actually, back in the 1800s or whatever. So anyway, there's like maybe 7 of them around town that talks about the Ellis House, which has been torn down. It talks about the first street, that 9th Street that's in front of Arthur's was the very first main street of Ellis, okay? All the businesses were on that. Anyway, that historical trail, they've had 7 markers, working on those other 14 to get those put up right now. And so we're kind of working on walking trails. The one up, like I said, the one up at the Danny Schindler walking trail, the walking trail downtown. We also, which I will leave with you, is yesterday and today, the history of Ellis. Ellis is full of railroad history. So we went on ahead and we made this book, the Ellis Community Foundation did, and it's just all about Ellis, a lot of different things about Ellis, and I'm gonna leave it here and hopefully you will read it. You can buy these for $10 down at the Alliance office. And anyway, we felt too, like with the museums really didn't have anything that really sold Ellis. Like when visitors would come, you know, they might think, hey, this is a neat railroad town. I wish I could find out more about it. Well, now these will be available at the museums that they can go buy. We sold probably like 300 of them at Christmas time that people bought them for Christmas gifts, stocking stuffers. And so anyway, a lot of information, but we felt like this goes along with our historical walking trail downtown. So we have the book done, we should have the markers done. We're hoping by Memorial Weekend, but I don't know if that will happen or not. But anyway, that is what we're working on right now. Our project is just kind of getting our walking trails all done in Ellis and everything updated. And also talking about updating with the walking trails as we're talking about the Creekside Park. So what we were asking for help for is at the very north end, right across the street from the swimming pool, we want to put up a very nice shelter. There's already picnic tables there, but there is not a shelter to put the picnic tables. So that's something that we want, and that's what we're gonna be writing a grant for, and that's what we're gonna be working on, is to get a real nice big shelter so we can put the picnic tables under a shelter. We just feel like a lot of activity goes on at the swimming pool. You have a pool party, you can come right across the street, use that. I know the firemen use that park for their fireman picnic every year. If you have a ball game going on, the team after the game can come over and sit underneath the shelter and have their picnic snacks. And so anyway, it's just missing. We're just looking at the parks. Like I said, we're trying to Ellis to be a nice place to live and to raise a family. And so that park is doing wonderful right now with the ball diamonds. You know, it has a little race car track down there. It has, you know, the 2 walking trails for the adults, for the kids. The only thing is it's got a little playground. The only thing that's missing is this nice shelter, and we feel like that would be a good update. So that's what we're working on right now, is to get a shelter house built, okay? So that's our project right now. Do you guys have any questions? I know I just kind of rambled on. I didn't know for sure how much time I had. So do you have any questions about the Community Foundation? Like I said, we do a lot of work in Ellis, and like I said, the majority, all of it is just to make Ellis a better place to live. So we want it to look nice, better place to raise a family. We have to have activities here to get families to come here and stay. All right, so that's our main goal. Whenever we look at anything of getting out a grant or any project that we're working on, we always go back to our mission statement and say, hey, how is it helping Ellis? Is it really gonna help Ellis in some way that we can keep it thriving and not become a little ghost town?
So some of the things you talked about today are things that we've been discussing. We've read a few chapters in a book kind of about this topic.
Yeah.
Businesses, attracting businesses, keeping businesses that are currently here, successful and thriving, as well as beautification. We've talked about all of those things. So as a community foundation, do you talk goals, like long-term, things you want to accomplish, or when you sit down and pick projects, what is the process behind
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what we do. We sit at our meetings and we kind of look at our mission statements. We look at what we've done in the past. We kind of look at what does the town need right now? What are the people saying that, oh, Ellis needs this or that? And so that's kind of, yeah, we always come up every year with it. And sometimes our projects may take us 2 years. So once we get a project done, that's what we do. We set and we goal, yeah. We make our goals and we try to see if they're obtainable, if it would be one that the people will support, because we have to think it's gonna be something that is really necessary in Ellis, that people are gonna donate their money, you know, for. So yes, we do that. Just like talking about keeping businesses in town, you know, right now we're gonna be part of helping, of trying to get the downtown marked as a historic, historic area. So therefore, like where the old Opera House used to be, which is right down from where they do the exercise on Main Street, that building was ready to fall apart. We did have a person that came to town and bought the building. So he's looking for a way to update the building and to save the building so they don't have to tear it down. If you have your town as a historical area, you'll have to go back and restore the building like it was back in the olden days. But in the long run, it saves the developer, whoever's coming in and doing that, it saves them money. It makes your town look nice. And yeah, so hopefully, I mean, we are a part of talking in that discussion with them of getting that going, so that there's lots of more grant opportunities for people to come in and fix up some of the old buildings, yeah.
I know in Hayes, their downtown, they went in and even buildings that didn't necessarily have a business in it, and they fixed up the facades of those buildings.
Yes.
Is that something that?
That's,
in
yeah,
Opera House
the
that-
person who bought the old Opera House, I think he bought the building next to it.
Okay.
And then actually the old Opera House was the first 3 buildings. If you look up to where the bricks on the wall, you can see that was as far as the 3 first buildings. And after the dirty 30s, it was starting to need some work, and so the guy that bought the Opera House, he went and all he did was put 3 or 2 more walls in there, and he made the big Opera House 3 separate buildings. But it would be nice to get one big awning on all 3 of the buildings again, like it was back in the olden days. But yes, but that historic would help out to get people to come in and just fix the building up at a new little business that wants to come in. It could be like an incubator. You've heard of that before. Like a lot of times you may not have a office that you can go to, but you can have an incubator, kind of like Brief Space at Hayes. You can rent out a space, come in every day, do your business. They'll have Wi-Fi for you there, and you just bring your laptop in and you do your business in this little incubator. And then once your business takes off, you're gonna earn more money that maybe you could eventually go out and buy one of the buildings downtown and make your office in that. So, yeah, we're looking all those different processes just to try to keep Ellis
So
going.
does the community get involved much with business businesses, bringing businesses in? or
That is the
talking-
economic development,
Okay.
that's the other IDC, that's
Okay.
the other person who's in our building with us. And there's a group of maybe 5, 7 men, and, they're the ones that, and they don't really necessarily go out and look for people. Two of the people work in banks and that are on that committee, and a lot of times when somebody may come to town and say, hey, do you have any empty buildings, you know, I want to bring maybe this business into Ellis or whatever, then they kind of jump on it and they see, is there a building that would be able for them to locate in, and they work it that way, yeah. So right now they're working a lot with just a motel up on the hill at A&W, and then that man wanted to buy some land up by Interstate and develop it, and anyway, that's going on right now with the Economic Development Council. So, anyway, yeah, so that would be more them doing that than the Community Foundation, that's the IDC. And like I said, that's why they're in there with us, because they're all volunteers too. You know, they're not just out, or most big cities will have a group that gets, and that will be their job. They will go out and they will search and find people to come to your town, but they get paid, you know, they get paid for it. Everyone down there is a volunteer, everyone in the chamber is a volunteer, everybody in the Community Foundation is a volunteer, not one of us make any money. It's just, you have to have a passion, you have to love your town, put in so much time, work, and effort to do that, because you're, you know, so it's just, you get out pleasure of just knowing that you're helping your town out, yeah. It's just, that's what's gifted to you, yeah.
Do you look at other towns around us for inspiration, or what other
Well,
towns?
well,
are
just for instance, like we were looking for a shelter, and anyway, Waukene had put in a new swimming pool years ago, but they have a wonderful shelter, and somebody had kind of known about it that was on our committee. So one day when I was up at Waukene, I just stopped and took pictures of it from different angles or whatever. And so we're kind of looking at that shelter to kind of model our shelter off of. So yeah, we do, we go and we look to see what other towns have done, and we kind of know our price range about how much we could probably, you know, get funds for, and we don't want to overdo it, and that, you know, what's a nice fit for us. So yeah, there's a lot of planning and prepping before we announce we're gonna do this project and this is what it's gonna look like. Yeah, we do a lot of that planning.
How many people did you say are on the foundation?
We have 9 people on the foundation board. Macy's dad's on, seeing her sitting back there, her dad's on the foundation. Anyway, Dan Pyle is just one of our newest members on the foundation board. We have Brian and Brad Fricky, Dina Petit, Chad Pritchard, Rita Younger, myself, Tim Polris. I don't know, is that, if I got to 9, I didn't really count, so those are the members of our board.
You mentioned the shelter as kind of one of your
Projects.
projects. Are there any other projects that you have that you've discussed and have in mind for the future, or?
No, we just gotta do one project at a time,
Okay.
yeah.
So are there any projects that you would maybe want these students to help out with possibly writing grants for, or?
But we would like one for the
For
shelter.
the shelter?
Another thing, like we have the Patterson Foundation, like last year we had the 70,000 match. And so last year when we did, the mural was not gonna take us $70,000. So, this was just a brand new Patterson Foundation that came out with their match one-on-one, which is very unlikely that you ever find a match. For every dollar you give, they give. So it really doubles your money. And Ellis really did receive that well. So and their criteria was we were able to put some other nonprofits in with us. So last year when we did the match month in May, besides our mural that was on there, also the fairground was putting up a nice big building out at the fairgrounds. And the other one is the playground at the grade school. And we just feel like being in a small town, people only have so much money that they can donate. We had 3 big projects going on. And the people did come out and, you know, maybe if they were gonna give $75, instead of giving $75 to just one project, they might have given 25 to this one, 25 to this one, and 25. Well, it ended up being 50, 50, 50 with the match. And so they felt like that made their money go farther, which it did. And we ended up matching. I never believed that we would pull in $70,000, but we did. Between those 3 projects, we pulled in and matched the 70,000, in fact, I think we went up to 92,000, but only 70,000 was matched from that. So we're looking at that again, and so we haven't quite got all of our, of who's gonna be, all be on the match, but of course the shelter, will be one of them. We're looking at other projects up here. I know the tennis courts need to be resurfaced. That could be a possibility. We've talked about pickleball a lot, so that could be to where there might just be one tennis court and the other tennis court be turned into two pickleballs, because pickleball is such a sport right now that everybody, every age, I mean, even the elderly, people older than myself go and play pickleball. So, you know, and very seldom do you see both tennis courts being used. But I could see, you know, having two pickleball courts and that being used. Because we had even talked about maybe putting pickleball courts down at Creekside, but we thought, no, really they should be up here where there's already a fence, and yeah, it belongs up here. And that way the school could utilize it during PE time too. So that could be a possibility of something coming up also. So anyway, so yeah.
I don't know if you said, did you say when the Community Foundation of Ellis started?
2006.
2006.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned some of the recent projects that you've done.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the kind of maybe the first ones? Do you remember? throughout the
Well,
years?
you know, and that was before I was on. The first, probably, I don't know, 7 years, and then they talked about, Ellis wanted a big community room. And so the Community Foundation had bought land right up, well, first of all, they looked for land, okay, I'll go back on the story. They looked for a piece of land for a community room, okay? And they wanted a community room big enough that they could have wedding dances, so people wouldn't have to go to Hayes for wedding dances. A room big enough for auctions and different things that are going on. And so we looked for a piece of land. Of course, there was not any building that we looked at downtown, like the old Reasoner building. Everything had, okay, you'd have to make it handicap accessible. It didn't really have everything that we needed, maybe no parking. I mean, there's a lot of, because we tried to utilize some of the old buildings in town first. That didn't happen, so they went up and they bought a piece of land just right up by the swimming pool. And we thought that's a perfect piece, because if you have like a big family reunion there, you can write down, goes just right down the, you know, the hill. There's the swimming pool, you could do a swimming pool, there's the sand volleyball, there's the baseball courts. You could, baseball fields. Anyway, you can use that whole park area there, and that would be a great place for a family reunion. We had a lot of backlash that people didn't like that spot. And it's like, well, does anyone, if you don't like it, anyone who's really backlashing us, do you have a spot for us? Do you have a piece of land on the outside of town that you would, you know, give to us? And so they probably spin their wheels, probably a good their first 10 years, they probably spun their wheels. And by the 10 years came up, nobody really wanted a community center anymore. But we had one, we had plans for it. We had it to where it had 2 big rooms. It could either have a small wedding dance, big wedding dance, had a kitchen in it. It had like garage doors in the back that would open up, that people had auctions, could bring their cars, you know, the truck in, unload their trailers, have an auction there. So anyway, we just didn't feel like that we were getting the support, and we would not get the funding. Everyone said, well, we'll give you money once we see it going. Well, yeah, you can't bank on that. Once we see it going, we'll give you money. So we just said, you know, we need to stop and just do maybe some small projects. So that's when we started to do, we said, okay, we can do the food pantry. Let's relocate the food pantry, the double slide. So we did some projects that were quite quick and short that, you know, within a year we could do. And that's kind of how that came about.
Is the community center something that's still kind of talked
Well,
about?
only a few people are talking about it, because we kind of run into the part where if you do have a big community center, some people feel like then people won't rent out the KFC hall, so you're stepping on their feet. The VFW hall can still be rented out. Meanwhile, Guy Riedel went and took the bowling alley, and he's made that like into a big venue now. So really, we probably don't need one now because of the bowling alley being changed into that.
Something we've been discussing, looking at like what types of things do people leave town for and go to Hayes for?
Yeah.
Something that we discussed the other day was some recreation. So like along with that, you know, you look at other communities like Plainville that built a rec center.
Mm-hmm.
What is the process for a big build like that?
Yeah,
that
could be that we could partner up. Yeah, we would be willing to partner up with the Ellis Rec if that would be. With the Ellis Rec though, they get their funding from A third of it's the Ellis Rec, but then the school district gives them a third, and the city. So anytime the Ellis Rec does anything, they have to have permission from the other two entities to join in. And so, you know, that's a whole nother
Right.
ball game right there. It's getting those two to join in with you because they give them funding. They have so much of their mill levy that you have to give. It's just by law. You have to give your Ellis Recreation this much of, yeah. So therefore, yeah, and they were in a smaller building out at the old power plant, and they did buy the old doctor's office right there by the grade school. And so they have opened that up. They have some small rooms in there that you can have birthday parties. They have pinochle, dominoes, chicken dominoes going on for the elderly. But as far as having a rec center to where we want basketball, and at one time we were going to partner with them also with this civic center. But that was another thing. They wanted some basketball courts and different things that, yeah, that we felt like
So
that
if
maybe
you-
we couldn't.
If that was a goal,
Uh-huh.
like let's say that you wanted to look at a rec center
Uh-huh.
with basketball courts and whatnot, you wouldn't write probably one big grant for it, right? Or how does the process go for that? Is it
Well,
in
we-
increments, or how does that work with fundraising for something like that, a big project?
Mhm. Well, you would have to get the total cost on the whole building of what you want. But then after you get that, you can start, I mean, you'd have to get the building first. You could do part of the building on some grants, just say we're gonna do the office and maybe, two basketball courts. And then later, you could go on ahead and add whatever else you want into your rec center, yeah. So you could do it, but you'd have to have probably the full picture first, if this is what we want, but this is what we're gonna work on first. So you could do it in increments and steps like that.
Does the community foundation get involved with supporting like a business that wanted to come in, or are those, like, let's say a recreation business for like I know yesterday trampoline park was mentioned, that's kind of just maybe a thing
Yeah.
that's beyond reach, but like if you found a company that wanted to come in, do you get support? Is that
Yeah, we
involved,
could,
or-
yes, we could, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if we felt like it was something that Ellis really needed, that we could partner up with anyone, yeah. I would love to. The more you have, maybe the quicker you can get the project done, less expense for each group involved, so, yeah, that's a good thought. So you guys thought about a trampoline park?
That was just something that was mentioned. We were talking about,
Well, just activities, like I said, we
Right.
need activities for kids
We
and people
kind
to
of-
do, so you don't have to drive to Hayes all
we
the time.
identified that entertainment for
Yeah.
families as kind of the thing that people go to Hayes for, and so
Yeah.
we were just kind of brainstorming some things
Mhm.
that could maybe keep them here to do those
Yeah.
types of activities. Again, that's kind of a lofty goal.
No, but anytime you guys brainstorm and do things, let us know and whatever, cause that could be something that we could put and discuss later, like, hey, you know, people were requesting this, would this be a good?
But even
uh,
something like a rec center, if that was funded
Mhm.
through the community, how does that work when you would have to pay someone to run it, right? Or
Right.
to clean it, or to
Yes.
do the
Mhm.
upkeep, of it. How does that work with?
Well, that's all part of your plan, like when we were talking about that big community center that we wanted up by the swimming pool, that's a part of it, can you sustain it? Can, you know, yes, we can maybe build it, but is it gonna be sustainable? Meaning like, who's gonna be the custodian? Who's going to be the person that they go to rent it out? I mean, yeah, you have all of those other entities that you were talking about, and that would be the same with the rec, but although we do have a rec director, so I would imagine for a rec building, the rec director would be the person who would take care of it. He would be the one that would hire the maintenance person for it, yeah, it would all then run through the rec, yeah.
Also, Palco got brought up yesterday and how they have that movie theater.
Uh-huh.
But was that a fundraising effort, or was that a donation?
Up at Palco, it was an elderly man who had a lot of money, and he left it to the town, and that's what they did, yeah. So it's really nice if you have people like that, if they just love their town, and of course, you wanna give what you to your family, but a lot of times people have maybe, they can set funds up, they can, like I said, leave a life insurance. I mean, this scholarship for $100,000 was wonderful. I mean, the lady just had to pay a premium every month for her, just like you pay a premium for life insurance, but just put your beneficiary down to who you want it to be, and it's a nice way of having your legacy live, on and people remember you, so.
Does the community foundation get involved with seeking out donors like that, or do you just kind of
No,
advertise?
every now and then when we advertise and on social media and different things, we ask, and We do a lot of one-on-one, we have a lot of meetings, one-on-one with different people who've maybe asked of interest, or people that we go and approach and say, can you come down for a meeting, we have some things we'd like to, discuss with you, and so, yeah, so both ways, it reaches out both ways, you have to do a lot, and those would be your larger donors, yeah. Any other questions? They're all good questions. So anyway, just, I mean, like I said, we're a busy group and trying to do a lot for our town as much as we can do, but it all costs money. So if you don't have the donors, then you have to look for grant writing, and do some grant writing with it too. And that slows the process down a little bit, cause, so. But there are a lot of grants out there, but you have to have a person who's gonna sit and fill it out.
Well, after this year, we'll have all these
Yes.
people that will know how to do it, so
Yes.
you can ask them.
And like right now, our secretary down at the Alliance, our Alliance is just temporarily closed, cause we don't have a secretary right now, but that's the person that we hire, we would like the person that can do some grant writing too, so if you know of anyone who needs it's a part-time job, we have 20 hours a week or whatever, if you know of anyone who needs a job, send them down our way, So right now, we just have a little mailbox outside, a little blue mailbox. If you open it up, you can get a scholarship application or you can get a grant application. You guys are seniors, project graduation's coming up. I don't know whose parents are in charge of that. Last year, the seniors came and usually we give to project graduation. Last year, they did not approach us until like the middle of April, and we said, oh man, the applications were due March 31st, and we gave it out the first week of April. We, did our grants, reviewed them, and yeah, you guys weren't in there. So, yeah, you have a couple more weeks. So I don't know whose parents are in charge of project graduation, but if you'd like, and that would be, most of our grants will go for $1,000, but for something like that, it would be $500 just because it's an expendable grant. That means that the things that you buy are like gift cards and things like that. It cannot be replaced without spending more money to replace it. So therefore, like if you are maybe redoing a kitchen or something like that, you could get up to $1,000 from us. But in an expendable, because you're giving them out, and to replace that grant, you'd have to spend more money. We only give $500, but $500 will still buy a lot of gift cards for you guys for your project graduation. So please make sure you tell whoever to get a grant and fill one out. So I'm gonna leave a scholarship. Please look it over. I'm gonna leave a history book. And so please, look through there and see. Really, I bet there will be a lot of history that you're not even aware of in Ellis. So anyway.
Thank you, guys, please give her a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you. I like to talk, so I hope I didn't talk too much. You guys know that.
Perfect.
All right,
Now,
thank you.
how old were these guys when you taught some of
Well,
them?
I taught, probably in